Hey guys, so today's video is going to be my Face Brush 101 video. This is going to kind of be piggybacking on top of the eyeshadow 101 video that I've done in the past. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I will do some links up here, but I will definitely have it linked down in the down bar. You guys have asked me to do a face brush video similar to that for a while, and I'm finally getting around to doing it. A little bit of fun facts for you before I get started. Number one, obviously, I'm in a different area of my room today. I'm just so tired of being in front of that stupid wall. So if I look weird, or if the angle's weird, or if the lighting's weird, that's why I'm still trying to kind of work out the kinks with this. One of my best friends is coming down from South Carolina this weekend to come hang out with me, and I was thinking about doing a video with her. I really want to. Stunningly beautiful. She does makeup, she does cosplay. She's going to be in a lot of my Halloween videos upcoming in the next few months, and she's coming down here just to kind of do some planning and figure some things out. But I also thought it might be really cool to do some other stuff like film together. I was thinking maybe along the lines of a get ready with me, or a Q&A of some sort, or maybe like a tag video. But I wanted to get your thoughts. Like, what do you think? Is there anything in particular you'd like to see? Do you have ideas? Let me know. I thought maybe it'd be cool to see like a different side of me than just sitting here talking to you guys about makeup. But definitely let me know what you think. So let's just get started with this video, I guess. Now, as far as this video is concerned, disclaimer, I'm going to talk quickly. I have a lot of information that I'm trying to give to you guys, so watch it a couple times if you need to. There's a lot of stuff I want to cover. I'm going to start off going in the order that I typically do my face makeup, I guess, technically. And first would be foundation. I don't really have a lot of foundation brushes that I like, but the one that is my absolute favorite is the Sigma 3D HD Kabuki brush. I love this brush for a multitude of reasons. The number one reason is that the shape of it is so unique and different. I know that when it first came out, a lot of people really didn't understand the point of it or didn't really want to invest in it. I'm so glad I have it now. It took me a long time to get it. Sigma did send it to me, and I'm so thankful that they did. What I like about the shape so much is that if you're someone like me and you do your eyes first, or in my case in particular, your eyebrows first, this manipulates and moves around your face however you want it to, so effortlessly. So effortlessly. That is the number one thing about it that I love the most. It's super easy to get around your eyes, up here in between your eye and your nose, which a lot of people neglect. It gets around your hairline really well. Like I said, your eyebrows, number one thing. So this brush is synthetic, and any foundation brush that you use should be synthetic. The reason for that is synthetic brushes are meant to deposit product onto your skin and not hold on to a lot of it. So for example, if I went in with some sort of natural haired brush, that brush, because it has pores, because the hairs of a natural bristle brush have pores, it soaks up some of that stuff. That's good for a reason when you're doing powder products, and I'll tell you all about that in a minute. But when it comes to liquids and creams, you want your brush to pick up product really well, and you want it to let go of the product really well. Also, because synthetic fibers do not have a cuticle, they don't kind of do like this different direction splaying motion. They don't have like that kind of splayed out like this. For example, you can see these bristles are all different lengths, and they're all kind of going different directions. So this would most likely give me a lot of streaks and a lot of inconsistent coverage. This one is going to lay it down really smoothly, and because the bristles are all the same length, they're going all the same direction, you're not going to get streaks. So that's why you want to have a synthetic brush, and this one just happens to be my favorite. And this little angle detail it has, most of the time when people do their foundation with a brush, they do kind of like a patting, stippling motion with it. And the benefit of this one is because this little angle side is so dense and it's so small, it gives you like a maximum amount of coverage with a minimal amount of product, which sounds really strange, but it works really well for that, and that is why it's my absolute favorite, and that is the Sigma 3D HD Kabuki brush. What brush I am using to lay down foundation, and this is also true with concealer, you'll see that in a moment. I always hit it with a Beauty Blender sponge or a Real Technique sponge. I do that because even though I know I'm not going to get any streaks or anything like that with this, I'm just kind of like overkill with the blending, and this will absorb any excess product that maybe the brush could have left on your skin, because as I said before, the main benefit of this brush is going to release the product onto your face. This is going to take away if you happen to have too much. These are the Real Techniques sponges. I don't really have like a super big preference over the Beauty Blender or the Real Techniques. Real Techniques just happen to be a lot easier to get a hold of. They're at drugstores, at Target. I got some at Kohl's today, actually. Fun fact. I went to go pick up a new one, and Kohl's actually had these 4-packs, and I got 4 of these things for like, I think it was like $11 or $12. So that's pretty cool. Go check that out if you can. But what I will say my preference about this is the angle. I like how well it fits right here on the side of my face. The tip is really, really good. It's a really, really nice, really, it's a very, very nice sponge. But you don't have to get a foundation brush at all. There's a lot of times where I apply and blend out my foundation with a beauty sponge. You can absolutely do that. It's all gonna be preference, but you'll see like why I recommend this thing no matter what, because it can be used for so many things and I just love it. For concealer, you can go about this many different ways. It really depends on, once again, your preference. If I'm going to use a concealer brush at all, it typically means that the concealer that I'm using doesn't have like some sort of doe foot applicator. Think Urban Decay Naked Skin. It has an applicator built into it, so I can just apply it directly to my face and then blend it out with a beauty blender. There's no brush that I like to blend my concealer out with. I use a brush to apply the concealer. The brush that I ever use to apply concealer is the Sigma F75, which is this one right here. I use this one because if I'm using something like the Makeup Forever Ultra HD concealer or something like the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye, they come in a squeeze tube. So I'll squeeze it on the back of my hand and kind of warm it up with my brush, and then I will apply it where I want it to go. But the reason that I like this one in particular for concealer is because when I go to do my nose highlight, the sides of it are just like razor thin, so I can just get it right where I want it to be, put it on my forehead, Cupid's bow chin, you know the drill. But like I said, you don't have to have a concealer brush at all. You can easily just put it on the back of your hand, take your beauty blender, whip it up, do it in, there you go. I don't know if that made any sense, but once again, why the Beauty Blender or the Real Techniques sponge is such a universal, awesome, can't live without, ride or die, take it with you to the grave, amazing product. It'll change your life. Look into it if you haven't. I'm gonna talk briefly about cream contour. Cream contour isn't something I do very much to myself. If you guys have watched my channel for any length of time, I think I've cream contoured on camera once. And that's all I can think of that I've ever done it. It's just the one time. I just don't need to. I think that cream contour is pretty much only ideal for people with dry skin. If you have combination oily skin and you're going in and you're applying a cream contour, but then you have to set it with a bronzer and then set that with a powder, it just, why? There's no need to do it. Some people say that it makes it last longer, I guess, to do it that way. I'll give you that, but still, if you have more liquids you have on your skin, the more stuff that's gonna just come off of it, basically. So you're better off with powder. There's more than one way to skin a cat, pardon the expression, but that's just my opinion. Dry skin people, with dry skin, I can totally understand cream contour and highlight. You don't need to go in with a crap ton of powders. You don't want to put a whole lot of powder on your face, so cream contour and highlight would be the way to go as far as I'm concerned. For cream contour, there's really only 3 brushes that I like. And typically when I do a cream contour on a client or something like that, I will lay down the cream contour with one brush and blend it out with another. And that's simply because if you're gonna take a brush like, and I'm gonna explain this brush in a minute, but let me show you what I mean. You take this brush, which is the Emphasize Contour F57, you lay this down with your contour and you try to blend it out. It's not gonna go where you want it to go, and you're really just gonna move it around. That's not the same thing as blending as far as I'm concerned. But I do like this brush to kind of bring it full circle. I do like this Emphasize Contour brush to lay down your contour. This little kind of swoop angle that it has, you notice this is going to hug that cheekbone so beautifully. It is synthetic, but it can be used for powder. Don't get me wrong, I just prefer it for cream. What I like about it too is that because this tip is so sharp, and then the actual front of it is so flat and dense and thick, you can manipulate this brush to put different products in different areas as a thin of a line or as thick of a line as you want. So like for example, I would probably take the thicker side of this and do something like contour out my jaw because that's where it's gonna hug the best. But for my cheeks, I would probably only use like the very, very side of it or just like kind of the edge of it to do underneath your contour. Or you can take just the very, very tip of it to make an even thinner line. It's really all about preference. Another brush that I like to use to lay down, once again, lay down the contour is the F77 Chisel and Trim Contour. These are both synthetic. This one is synthetic, but I do use this for powder mostly, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But this one's really, really, really thin and straight, as you can tell. And this is what I use today to do my contour. I did use powders, but it just gets the thinnest little contour line right there, which to me is the objective. You don't want this giant like brown streak over your face. Like you want a thin shadow. I mean, you guys might think mine's way too large and in charge for all I know, but I think I got it pretty thin today. Thin enough to do the job, but big enough so that the point isn't completely missed is kind of the goal. But yeah, I really like both of these to lay down the contour, and then to blend it out, which is very different, I like to use the MAC 159. Sigma has a brush similar to this, but the bristles are just a lot longer. I like this one because it's a lot shorter, so it's really, really easy to control the blending and where I want that product to go anywhere on the face. Again, these are my cream contour picks. This one in particular you will see again, but these are just the ones I like for cream contouring. So for powder contour, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk to you about like the big daddy of all contour brushes as far as YouTube is concerned, and that is the NARS Ita brush. I like this brush. I've had it for a long time. You guys have definitely seen me use it several times here on my channel. Do I think that it is the last and only brush in the world, that it does a better job than anything else, that it's absolutely worth the investment? No. I think there are plenty of other brushes that can do just as good of a job. If you are like a serious makeup collector, I could see maybe the benefit in buying a brush like this, but to be honest, I pull for this every once in a while, but like for example, when I'm traveling, this never makes the cut to come with me. It's definitely not that crucial. It is nice. The time when it became really popular initially, it was one of the few brushes on the market that had this very straight design while still being pretty fluffy. That's kind of why it got to be so popular, but I almost think the disadvantage of it is it's too fluffy. It's too fluffy! It's too big. Like that contour line is going to be at least this thick, and you don't want that. At least in my opinion, you don't need your contour line to be this thick. That's what I don't like about it. It is a nice brush. It's okay, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have it. That I really do like is the Sigma Extreme Contour F04. This one is pretty similar to their other contour brush they've had out for a long time, but it's a little bit smaller, so it's going to be much more of an extreme contour, hence the name. I will link the other contour brush that they have down below that's similar to this one. This one is absolutely beautiful for powder products, but it is synthetic, so it can be used for cream if you want. I just prefer it for powder. It's really good to get a nice contour on the back of the cheeks. It'll get right here on the forehead, jawline, whatever you want. The rounded tip of it makes it ideal for laying down powder products and blending them out. So that's kind of a good thing about this one. Typically when I do makeup, no matter whether it's my eyes or my face, I will almost always lay down my color with one brush and blend it out with the bigger one. That's just the way I like to do it. But if you want to keep a really structured, really intense contour, then this would also be a really good option for that, because like I said, it's going to really compactly put that color in the areas that you want it to. So I like this one a lot, and that is the F04 Extreme Contour. A rando commando that I'm really into is the Royal & Langnickel Fan BC300. You guys have seen this one pop up randomly on my channel here and there, I'm sure. It is a fan brush, and typically fan brushes are used for highlighting. I bought this one to contour with though initially, because when I saw how thick it was and the round kind of top of it and how fluffy it was, I was like, okay, that's gonna be a dope contour brush. It is nice for contour, but like I said before, your contour line for the most part is probably gonna be at least this thick if you're laying it down with this brush. Now let's talk about the bristles. These are natural bristles, and as I said before, with synthetic, you want to use synthetic with your creams and things like that, because the benefit of a synthetic brush is it's going to pick up the most product and it's going to let go of the most product. The good thing about natural bristles is they have pores. So they do take, there will be a lot of powder in this brush, but it's gonna let go of it a lot less intensely, if that makes any sense. That's why you would use a powder, because if you had a brush for powder that is synthetic, typically speaking, it's just going to let go of it too quickly, and then you're gonna have to blend it out. So powder brushes being good for kind of lightly depositing it a little bit at a time and then blending out as you go. This one is beautiful. I love it. I have used it for highlighting. This one's very multi-purpose to me because it gets right along the cheekbones, it gets along the nose, you can do the jawline. It's a good one. I like this one a lot. I will link where you can get Royal & Langnickel down below as well if you are interested in this one. Back to the cream contour that I mentioned before, the Chisel and Trim Contour is a good one. It is synthetic, like I said, so you are gonna get some payoff with this if you use powder. To me, the trick is just to use a really light wrist and keep your hand low on the barrel. I don't know why I was called a barrel, it's a handle. Your hand low on the handle and just lightly put it on there, and it will give you the thinnest, most straight, perfect contour line ever. I've been using this a lot lately. I like it a lot, but like I said, you just don't want to be hard with this. You don't want this number with this brush. You want kind of like this. But it is beautiful, and like I said, it's good for both. Yeah, that's why I like this one so much, because it's good for cream and powder, and that is the F77 from Sigma. A lot of bronzer brushes that I really like, but the one that I like the absolute most is this one from Vanity Planet. I got this one in the Vanity Planet new vegan brush line they came out with not too long ago. I did a whole video about it. I'll link it down below. There's a lot of brushes in that brush roll that I enjoy, but this one I like the most, and I use the most, and I use it for the most things. I use this one for bronzer, I use it for blush, I use it for powder. It's a really universal flat. I bet you can use this for foundation too, and it'll probably do a pretty good job. But anyway, what I like about it so much is it's big, so your bronzer is not going to look too harsh. It's just gonna give a nice wash of sun-kissed color. It blends out really well. It's super soft. Even though this is synthetic, because there's so many bristles, like this is a really dense brush, as you can see. It does let the powder go really nicely. It doesn't give you a splotchy effect. It blends out really well. I love this brush. I use it for bronzer, I use it for blush all the time. It's just, I think I already said that, but driving it home, this is a great brush. You can get the Vanity Planet brush roll at their website. I'll link it down below. And if you use the coupon code, it's $30. So I think it's dope. And you'll see another Vanity Planet brush come in here in a second. So it's worth the investment if you ask me. But yeah, anyway, it doesn't have a number or anything like that. It's just the big fat Mac Daddy brush in the roll. Bronzer brush I really like is a Sigma Soft Angled Contour. What I like about this one is the angle. Typically with a face brush, if you can give me an angle on a brush, like I'm happy, because you can do a lot with it. Angles give you the option to pick the side of the brush you want to use. So brush could be a contour or a bronzer brush, depending on what you want to do with it. For bronzer, you would just use this bigger flat side, and you could easily get your bronzer anywhere you wanted it to go. And since I pretty much always put bronzer a little bit back here too, to give my contour something to blend into, that's one good thing about this brush. And it gets really nicely here on my temples, and I have like the smallest temples in the history of the world, so it does a good job getting near my temples. And because it's angled, you can control what you do with it. So for example, if you did want to use this as the contour, you could easily just use the tip of it to lay down your contour, flip it around, and then use the bigger side to blend. But I just prefer this for bronzing, honestly. Once again, to demonstrate how one brush can be used for multiple things, this one's just a really nice bronzer brush as far as I'm concerned, but I can use it for contour. It's dope. Anyway, and that's the F23. For baking, you would not think that it matters too much what brush you use to wipe away your baking powder. Oh, but it does. When I am baking my makeup, I apply my powder with a beauty blender. I just think it's easier. Some people do it with a damp beauty blender. I don't like to do that, because I feel like if you don't get it just right, if there's just a scotch too much water on that sponge, it's going to create like a pancake batter cakey situation on your face. So I just rather avoid it altogether and use a dry one. I apply it with the beauty blender, and then I typically, what I used to do, and this is still a favorite, but you'll see why I had to stop using it. What I used to do is use the Sephora Pro Precision Blush Brush. It's the number 73. What I liked about it for so long is that it's flat, so it's really easy to get here and dust away any powder that I have. So the trick to baking, no matter which way you look at it, is to get all the powder off. You have to get all the excess powder off your skin and only leave a thin enough veil to keep your makeup set. Now, what this one doesn't do very well is get all the powder off. What it's doing is holding on to the powder that I'm trying to dust off. So what I typically have to do is like dust off, clean it off on something, come back, dust off some more, clean it off. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, it's unnecessary. So I wouldn't recommend this brush for that anymore, only because lately I have been using the Sigma Spotlight Duster. I don't know what this is intended to be for. You could use it to contour if you want to. You can use it to bronze, you can use it for highlighter, but I like it to dust away my cooking powder. Because it's synthetic, it's just kind of, it's not clinging onto that powder. It's just letting it go a lot easier. At least that's just my perception of it. I guess that's why it works so much better. I love this brush for that reason. I don't think I'll ever use another one for that because I'm very picky about getting that powder off my face. And this, I'd used it today, for example. I don't see any powdery residue. And usually with this one, I kind of have to get in there for a while to get it where I want it to be. So yeah, really, really, really like this one for baking. And that is the Spotlight Duster F307. Highlighter, you really typically only see 2 different types of brushes nowadays being used to apply it. When I say highlighter, I mean like a full-blown shimmer highlighter, like a Becca Opal or something like that. And that's usually like a fan brush of some sort or more of a tapered, precise synthetic brush of some sort. I like the fan brush whenever I am trying to do kind of a lighter wash of highlighter, and you would think that doesn't make sense because they are synthetic and they're flat. Typically, you're supposed to be able to get the maximum amount of pigment on the brush and then get the maximum amount off onto your face. But for me, I don't know. I like to control where my highlighter goes. You could definitely take this brush and just get all up in that situation and get all over your face, and it can be really, really shimmery and highlighted, but I don't think it does a good job of like precisely laying it down where you want it to go, and you might have to do a couple passes with it. It doesn't mean it's not a good brush. A lot of people swear by fan brushes for highlighting. I'm just not one of them. This is from the Vanity Planet one, and if I am going to use a fan brush lately to do my highlighting, this is the one that I like to go with. It is very nice, but for me, when I highlight, I have very specific areas of my face that I want highlighted because my skin is textured. If you have dry skin and you have that kind of skin that just has like no pores or texture at all, you can just like douse yourself in highlighter. But if you have oily skin and your pores are a little bit more open, you have to be mindful of where you apply your highlighter because shimmery products enhance texture. I think that's like the #1 thing I've said on my channel since it started. So something like this is the Sigma F03. It does a really good job of just going where I want it to go. Because it is synthetic, you guessed it, it's going to hold that product quickly and it's going to let it go quickly. So it's a really, really, really nice option. But if you don't want to invest in a brush just for highlighting that's like this, you could always just use a really fluffy eyeshadow brush and do the same damn thing. I just really, really like this one. Once again, that is the F03. I just got one. This is the Sigma Large Contour F40. I like this one because angles, again, I love an angle brush for the face because I can control where the most saturation of the color is going to be. So because this brush is bigger on this side and right in the middle, that means there's going to be a larger amount of area covered with it and a smaller amount of area covered with the end. So right here, on my face, I don't like the very apples of my cheeks. I keep looking in the viewfinder in case you're wondering because I need to make sure I'm pointing at the right things, but I don't want the very apples of my cheeks to be super rosy. I don't want to look like a doll necessarily. So I like to keep it a little bit further back, like right about here. And this kind of a brush, once I put the larger side towards my ear, it makes it really easy to control where I am laying down that blush color. So that's why I like this one so much. I prefer angles, but you know what I'm saying? Different folks, different strokes. Strokes, brushes, brush strokes. Get it? See what I did there? This is the F40 from Sigma and it's my favorite. Hey guys, that's the end of my brush video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Just to summarize things really, really quickly. #1, make sure you're using your synthetic brushes for your creams and your natural for your powders. You can use synthetic for powders, but I would not use natural for creams. Like that's where I wouldn't let the two crosses happen, so to speak. Also make sure you invest in a beauty sponge. Like I really would. These Real Techniques one, I think if you buy one, it's like $5 and you will use it all the time. It's so amazing. It's just revolutionary product. I don't know what we did without these before they were invented. Also, don't be afraid to use your brushes for more than one thing. I tell you guys all the time that technique trumps product. It's really gonna come down to you learning your face and learning how you wanna, you know, just getting in there and getting your hands dirty. It's all about technique. So that's just like my little makeup pep talk, I guess. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please thumbs up the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you have not. Leave me some questions, comments, and fun facts down below if you want to. Check the down bar for information about all the products that I mentioned. And also don't forget to leave me suggestions for me and Courtney's video if that's what ends up happening, because I'd still love to film it and I want to know what you want to see. So I hope you're having an amazing day and I love you more than you will ever know.